The file had not moved in years, not from this drawer, not from this room. The metal handle is cool when it's pulled. There's a short scrape, then the soft collapse of folders leaning into each other, as if they've been waiting to fall. This case was closed a long time ago, not solved. Closed. That distinction matters. The label on the tab is faded, the ink thinner where fingers once pressed too hard. A name is there. Still legible. Still official. A life reduced to black letters on manila paper. The detective stands alone. Late afternoon. The building is quiet in a way that only government buildings get quiet. No voices, no footsteps, just the low hum of electricity moving through walls. Outside, the light is already dropping. Inside the folder, the paper smells old. Dry. Dust lifts when the first page is turned, visible only for a moment as it crosses a narrow beam of sun from the window. This person disappeared years ago. Long enough for hairstyles to change. Long enough for children to grow into adults who don't remember their face clearly. Long enough for neighbors to forget the sound of their voice. At the time, there were searches, questions, phone calls that went unanswered. Then fewer searches, fewer questions. Eventually, none. The report is written in clean language. Short sentences, dates, times, locations. Everything is precise, except the one thing that mattered. What happened? The detective doesn't read everything. Not yet. Instead, they flip to the back. That's where it is. One page, not part of the original file. Not yellowed like the rest. It doesn't explain itself. There's no summary, no conclusion. Just a record of something that wasn't supposed to be here. A discovery that arrived late, years late. It could be a sample number, a line from a lab report, a clipping that never made it into evidence. A statement taken after everyone stopped listening. It doesn't say what it means. The detective pauses. This is the moment cases don't usually get. The moment after the ending. A pen rests on the desk, unmoving. The clock on the wall ticks once. Then again. The sound is louder than it should be. This case took something from someone. Time, mostly. Time is what disappears first, then memory, then certainty. The missing person became an absence people learned to live around. A chair no one sat in, a phone number no one dialed anymore, a birthday that passed quietly. But this page doesn't belong to the past. It exists now. The detective runs a thumb along the edge of the paper. There's a slight bend where it was folded, unfolded, folded again. Someone hesitated before letting it go. Outside, a car passes, tires on pavement, then nothing. This single detail changes the case. Not loudly, not all at once. It changes it the way gravity changes direction slowly, without asking permission. The file drawer remains open. Other names are visible inside. Other lives, stacked and waiting. The detective closes the folder carefully. Not with finality, with attention. Because whatever this is, it means the story didn't end when everyone thought it did. It means the person in those pages didn't just vanish into time. They moved through it, unseen. And now, years later, something has followed them back. The truth isn't here yet, only the suggestion of it. And that is enough to reopen everything. The disappearance has been reviewed many times, by patrol officers, by supervisors, by people who no longer work here. The records agree on the basics. The time, the location, the last confirmed sighting. They do not agree on what followed. The first unanswered question is simple. Why did the timeline break? According to police logs, the last verified contact occurred on a weekday morning. Phone records confirm it. A receipt places them within the same area less than an hour later. Then the trail stops. No calls, no messages, no movement. Search teams covered the immediate radius. Roads were logged, nearby properties were checked. Nothing was found that explained the silence. The gap remains. The second question is older. Why was one witness never re-interviewed? Archived reports show a single statement taken within the first 48 hours. The name appears once. The account is brief. It is neither confirmed nor dismissed. Later reviews reference the statement without expanding it. No follow-up notes. No supplemental interview. The person was available. They remained in the area, but the record ends there. The reason is not stated. The third question appears in the media archive. Why did coverage stop so abruptly? Newspapers ran the story for days. The language was consistent. Photographs were reused. Then, without explanation, the articles became smaller. Within weeks, the name disappeared from print. No public resolution was announced. No correction was issued. Editors moved on. That decision does not appear in police files, but it aligns with them. The same date, the same week. These questions are not theories. They are documented points where information should exist and does not. They have been cross-checked against case files, archived broadcasts, and recorded interviews taken years apart. The facts remain unchanged, even as interpretations vary. Each gap has a shape. Each one suggests something that didn't happen when it should have. There are answers to these questions. They are not all in the same place. Some were written down and overlooked. Some were recorded and never replayed. Some were spoken once and not repeated. We will return to each of them. Not now. For the moment, they remain as they were left, unresolved. And together, they form the outline of a story that still does not fit. Before the disappearance, the days followed a pattern. Not rigid, just familiar. Morning began in the kitchen. The refrigerator clicked on and off. A mug was set beneath the cabinet, always the same one, its handle turned slightly to the left. The radio stayed low, not for listening, just for company. Keys were kept in a shallow bowl by the door. Sometimes they landed cleanly, sometimes they missed and rested against the wall until later. Shoes waited nearby, worn at the heel, laced but loose. Outside, the pavement held the nights cool. Footsteps sounded briefly, then faded down the block. Neighbors recognized the pace more than the face. A nod, a quick greeting. Nothing that required stopping. There were places visited often, the same corner store, the same route taken home, even when others were faster. Habits formed quietly that way. Inside the home, objects stayed where they were left. A chair pulled back from the table, not pushed in. Mail stacked in order of arrival. A calendar on the wall with dates marked weeks ahead. Appointments, reminders, a note written in pen that didn't look urgent at the time. A jacket hung behind the door, light enough for the season. The pocket held nothing unusual. On the counter, something waited to be finished. It stayed there longer than planned. The phone charged overnight in the same place. In the morning, it was unplugged and returned there again. That routine did not change until it did. Relationships existed in the ordinary way. Short conversations, shared errands, plans made without detail. Someone expected a call later that day. Someone else expected them home. Those expectations were reasonable. Family photographs lined a shelf. Some were older than others. Faces changed across the frames. The person in the center appeared in most of them, sometimes closer to the lens, sometimes just behind someone else. There was space at the table, not formally set, just available. A light near the hallway stayed on longer than necessary at night. It was turned off in the morning. Every morning. On the day they disappeared, nothing was out of place. No door left open. No note written. No sign of interruption. The house held its shape. Later, when time passed and no one returned, the shape remained. Objects waited without adjusting. The chair stayed pulled back. The calendar stayed on the same month. Sunlight continued to move across the kitchen floor in the afternoon. Dust collected slowly where footsteps had been. The life didn't stop all at once. It paused. And in that pause, something small, something unnoticed at the time, was left behind, already pointing forward even then. At 7:12 a.m., the phone disconnects from the charger. That action is logged. Nothing else is. At 7:18, a front door closes. A neighbor later recalls the sound, but not the face. The time is an estimate. It always is. By 7:26, the person is seen walking south along the same street they use most mornings. One witness places them near the corner. Another remembers the opposite side of the road. Both agree on the clothing. Neither agrees on the direction of the light. At 7:31, a purchase is made at a nearby store. The receipt exists. The clerk does not remember the customer. The transaction lasts less than 30 seconds. At 7:34, a security camera across the street records movement. The image is wide. The frame is steady. The person passes through the edge of it, partially obscured, then disappears behind a parked vehicle. The camera does not follow. At 7:36, a bus arrives and leaves. The driver does not log anything unusual. A rider later believes they recognize the person, but cannot say from where they boarded. The schedule confirms the bus. It does not confirm the passenger. At 7:41, a phone signal connects briefly to a tower farther east than expected. The duration is short. The data incomplete. It is the last signal. At 7:45, another witness believes they saw someone matching the description near a different intersection. The timing overlaps with the bus route. It should not. At 7:52, a camera that should have captured the next block shows nothing. The system was operational. The timestamp is correct. The sidewalk is empty. At 8:03, the mailbox on the corner is opened and closed by someone else. The street remains quiet. No one appears in the background. At 8:17, the window for routine activity ends. Calls go unanswered. Messages remain unread. Nothing registers after that. The record shows movement without continuity, sightings without confirmation, signals without duration. Some accounts place the person ahead of where they could be. Others place them behind. No version aligns completely. There is no moment of struggle, no sound recorded, no image that shows departure, only intervals. When investigators reviewed the sequence later, one detail was noted, then set aside. It did not fit the timeline as understood at the time. It will return, not yet. By mid-morning, the routine begins to fail. Calls go unanswered, then repeated. The phone is dialed, hung up, dialed again, the same number in the same order without discussion. Voicemail fills. No message is left the first time. By late morning, someone walks the usual route, then walks it again. The pace is steady, not rushed. Eyes move to doorways, bus stops, the edges of parked cars. Nothing changes. At noon, the house sounds different. The refrigerator hum feels louder. A chair is moved, then moved back. A clock is checked more often than necessary. The first question is asked out loud. It isn't answered. By early afternoon, the absence is acknowledged by others. A neighbor joins the walk. Another checks behind a building. Someone knocks on doors that were never knocked on before. Names are spoken carefully. At 2 p.m., a report is made. The time is written down. The description is repeated, then corrected, then repeated again. Officers take notes. They ask about clothing, habits, timing. The answers are consistent, except where they aren't. At 3:30, the route is traced on a map. One path is drawn darker than the rest. It is the path most often taken. Searchers follow it in small groups. They walk quietly. They pass the same points at different times of day, looking for what should have been visible earlier. By evening, flyers are printed. The paper is thin. The photograph is cropped tightly. Tape holds for now. Streetlights come on. Phones light up in dark rooms. Messages are sent quickly. Responses come back slowly. A tip arrives before nightfall. Someone claims they saw the person across town, hours after the last confirmed time. The description is close. The location is not. For a moment, the search shifts. Names are called in a different direction. A vehicle is checked. A corner is cleared. The lead does not hold. It is noted, then placed aside. The night stretches. Meals are missed. Shoes remain on indoors. The chair at the table stays empty without comment. By the second day, exhaustion settles into the movement. The same questions are asked with fewer words. The same routes are walked with less expectation. Flyers peel slightly at the corners. Tape is pressed back down. The search continues, not because it feels effective, but because stopping would be worse. And somewhere within the noise of activity, a small inconsistency remains. Quiet, unaddressed, waiting for the moment when everything else slows enough to notice it. Months after the disappearance, a name begins to surface. Not loudly, not all at once. It appears at the edge of the record, in notes taken during follow-up interviews, in a margin beside a date, in a transcript that was never elevated beyond preliminary review. The person is not a suspect, not a witness either, at least not officially. They were present nearby during the weeks before the disappearance. That much is documented. Their routine intersected briefly with the victims. Not daily, not predictably. Enough to notice, not enough to explain. They are seen once on a security camera, standing across the street from a location the victim frequented. The image is distant, the posture neutral, the time unremarkable. No interaction is captured. In another record, a different camera places the same person blocks away on a different day at a similar hour. The pattern is thin. It could be coincidence. It could also be something else. Investigators note the overlap, then move on. There is no allegation, no accusation, just proximity. When interviewed later, the person answers questions directly. Their account aligns with known times. Their movements are plausible. Nothing contradicts the timeline strongly enough to hold. They are released from further inquiry. Still, their name remains in the file. Years pass. Birthdays arrive without celebration. The calendar is changed out of habit. Holidays compress into single days, then into memories of days. An empty chair becomes part of the room's arrangement. Not moved, not explained. Photographs are taken down, then put back up. The same ones, nothing new is added. Each year, the case is reviewed briefly. A call is made, a form is updated. The status remains unchanged. The shadow figure does not reappear in the record during this time. Life continues around the absence. A sibling ages past the point where they remember certain details accurately. A parent keeps track of years by counting how long it has been. Hope does not disappear. It thins. It becomes conditional. When the case is revisited again much later, the shadow lead is read differently. Not as an answer, as a question that was never fully asked. Was this person simply nearby, or deliberately so? There is no evidence to settle it yet, only the fact that chance and planning can look identical from a distance. In the final review, one additional item is logged. It was found among belongings kept untouched for years. It does not explain anything on its own, but it feels specific, personal. And once it is noticed, it cannot be unseen. It begins with paperwork, not a revelation, a routine request. A form is filled out, a signature added. The paper is thinner than expected, the surface slightly rough beneath the pen. The desk lamp hums. Outside, nothing moves. The date on the document is correct. The name is correct, the place is not. At first, the discrepancy is dismissed. Clerical error, transposed digits, it happens. The page is set aside. Another is pulled forward. That one disagrees too. Not by much. A day, a street, enough to notice, not enough to accuse. The adult reads slowly, then again. The feel of the paper changes from neutral to unfamiliar. The sound of turning pages seems louder than it should be. Old photographs are taken out, placed side by side. Faces line up, but the background shifts. A fence that shouldn't be there. A window facing the wrong direction. Memory supplies explanations easily. Memory always does. A question forms, then stops. It's asked later, casually, without emphasis. The answer comes back after a pause that lasts a second too long. Nothing confrontational is said. Nothing is corrected. Silence fills the space where clarification should have been. At night, the documents are reread. Under dim light. One hand keeps the pages flat. The other traces lines of text without touching the ink. Dates don't argue. They just exist. A birth record lists a hospital that closed earlier than remembered. An address appears that was never spoken about. A middle name is abbreviated differently across forms. Each detail is small. Together, they refuse to settle. The adult considers asking again, then doesn't. The risk feels undefined but present. A near miss is felt without understanding why. Reflections in glass linger longer than usual. The face looking back appears consistent, familiar, and yet the sense of alignment weakens. Another document is found, older, filed out of sequence. The edges are soft from handling. Someone kept this. The realization doesn't arrive all at once. It narrows. If these records are wrong, then something else must be right. If they are right, then something else has been carried incorrectly for years. A final page is turned. The room is quiet enough to hear the paper settle. There is a connection here. Not complete, not safe to name yet, but it points in a direction the adult has never been allowed to look. And once seen, the idea holds. The room is plain. 2 chairs, a table between them. Light enters from a high window, steady and unchanging. It rests on the floor first, then moves slowly upward, touching the legs of the chairs. One chair is occupied, the other is not. Footsteps approach. They stop outside the frame. There's no announcement. The door opens partway, then fully. The second chair is pulled back, not quickly. The sound of wood against the floor is brief, controlled. Someone sits. No one speaks. Hands rest where they fall. One thumb moves once, then stills. A breath is taken, then held longer than necessary. Eye contact happens by accident, then again deliberately. Neither person leans forward. Years exist in the space between them. Not described, not measured, present all the same. The hand lifts slightly as if to gesture, then lowers. The motion ends unfinished. The table remains untouched. One chair that was empty is no longer empty. Nothing else has changed yet. A face is studied quietly. Lines are noted. Familiar shapes appear where memory left them incomplete. Other details do not match expectation. Posture adjusts, shoulders square, then relax. The body chooses stillness. A nod occurs. Small, uncertain, returned, but not mirrored exactly. Time stretches without pressure. No one interrupts it. A hand moves closer to the edge of the table. It stops there. The light shifts again, now resting across both figures equally. No one reacts. Absence has shape for a long time. Presence does not erase it. It only sits beside it. The room holds. The chairs remain. The future is not addressed, and the moment ends without closing itself. The proceedings begin without ceremony. A date is set. A courtroom is assigned. Names are read into the record. Some are familiar, others are not. Testimony is given in sequence. Timelines are restated. Documents are entered as exhibits. Each page is marked, then placed aside. Witnesses speak clearly. They answer what is asked. They do not add more. Records are compared. Differences are noted. Some inconsistencies remain unresolved. The account presented is narrow by design. It focuses on what can be established, not what is suspected. The court listens. At times, the room is still enough to hear paper shift. A pen clicks once, then stops. The verdict arrives in measured language. It addresses responsibility within the limits of the charge. It does not speak to everything that was lost. There is acknowledgement of harm. There is also recognition of uncertainty. Sentencing follows procedure. The outcome is recorded. The terms are read aloud. No one reacts immediately. Faces remain forward. Hands stay folded. The benches behind are not full. When the session ends, the room empties slowly. Chairs are pushed back. Files are gathered. The judge leaves through a side door. Outside the courtroom, there is no announcement, no explanation beyond what was already said. The record is complete, as far as the law requires. What remains is not part of the judgment. Justice is applied. Time is not returned. The case concludes on paper. Beyond that, the future is left undefined. Years after the interruption, the distance remains measurable. Not in miles, in pauses. The original place still exists. The building stands. The street carries sound the same way it always has. Cars pass, a door opens, then closes. What changed is not visible. A file drawer opens somewhere else now for a different reason. Pages are removed, copied, shared, not as evidence, but as reference. The name is spoken carefully, in meetings, in classrooms, in rooms where decisions are made quietly. Work continues. Records are reviewed with greater attention. Questions are asked earlier. Assumptions are held longer before being accepted. A chair is used again, not the same one, but not empty. The story does not resolve into something clean. It moves forward through action, not explanation. At the original location, the light falls at the same angle it once did. Dust crosses it briefly, then settles. The interruption remains part of the record. So does the return. If you have information that belongs to a story like this, there are places that still listen. If you know someone who disappeared, their name still matters. The screen holds on the location. No movement, only ambient sound, silence. Then the name, and nothing more.